books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a real estate operator, rev- revitalizing America's mobile home communities. He's the founder of Cornell Communities, a real estate firm manufactured housing communities across 8 states, none other than Mr. Liu Young.
How are you, Daniel? Thanks for having me on.
Welcome, Mr. Leo on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure. So, my name is Leo Young. I'm the managing partner and founder at Cornell Communities. We are a mobile home park operator nationwide, and our purpose is two goals. We want to revitalize communities and offer affordable housing, and also give our investors a strong risk-adjusted return.
Indeed, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And of course, we are America's mobile home communities. So today, let's talk about from Tesla top salesperson to affordable housing operator. How did you build a 500 unit real estate portfolio? You went from being a top regional salesperson at Tesla, a sleek, futuristic tech company, to owning a manufactured housing communities. For people listening, that seems like 180 degrees turn. What was real catalyst for the change?
So when I'll start from the beginning. When I was in college, I studied finance. I was always interested in investments because I love philosophy and I love to figure out the why behind numbers, especially when it comes to investments. And after after graduating, I went into sales at Tesla to kind of be intentional with my personal growth. I wanted to learn how to communicate better, learn how to present ideas and sell. I hated sales at the time, so I wanted to face my fears head on and develop that skill. And through the time, I went from hating sales, being bad at it, to being the top regional person at Tesla. That wasn't easy. I mean, but also I ended up getting burnt out. It was just a lot of work at the time. So then I looked into ways on how I can build cash flow and wealth that doesn't rely on me clocking in and clocking out. So I found this idea of passive investing. And passive investing is where you invest your money with an experienced sponsor and they would make the money for you. So that's exactly what I did, and also what we're doing at Cornell Communities. So I invested with a group, I invested in some apartment buildings, and I fell in love with real estate. Then one step led to another. So I got my real estate license. I became a real estate agent. I was helping people transact across residential and commercial properties. And then I was recruited to a national real estate firm on their acquisitions team. So helping them buy properties nationwide. And then afterwards, I started my own firm with a co founder and now built out a team.
Again, congratulations for that, Mr. Leo. We wanted to a passive income. What was the specific skill you learned in a high pressure sales environment at Tesla that you use almost in the daily world of affordable housing?
The one that stands out the most is my work ethic. I think Tesla was the best training ground for your muscles of being able to tolerate uncertainty, of long working hours, of resilience, of bouncing back when you face rejections, because sales is all about rejection, and how do you bounce back in a way that it, it's not the customer's fault that they're saying no. They're just saying no to the opportunity at the moment. But how do you bounce back and not let that impact your next interaction? So I think the work ethic, it was something that I carried throughout the rest of my career. I mean, I'm able to work 7 days a week, like 80, 90 hours, like every week, and it's fine.
Well, resilience, resilient indeed. When you told people you were leaving Tesla to buy mobile homes parks, what was the most common reaction? And did that doubt ever give you a pause?
I will say that the common paths are well traveled on, and the results that you get from going the common path is not as well or not as good as people say it would be, because many people have gone that path and have gotten the reward. So I chose to go the path that is less traveled. So I went into, like what I said earlier, I went into sales, and then I went into more kind of real estate sales, with the brokerage, and then got eventually back into the finance investment realm. And the dots always connect when you look backwards, and it never connects looking forward. Because for me, going to do those things, it didn't really seem a lot of sense at the time, but also not really minding what other people think, because at the end of the day, what matters is what value you bring to the world. And the value that you bring to the world doesn't rely on other people's opinion of you, because the reality is, and I'm not one to say, f the haters or something. They just don't understand your life. You are the one living your life 24 hours a day. When they see you, they probably see a random TikTok video. They see you for 20 seconds. They don't know you. They don't know your life. They don't know your perspective. So they don't have the best comment to it, nor do they have your best interests at heart. So I never really listened to what other people said. I mean, I would ask them for advice, but there's a lot of people like going into entrepreneurship. Like, it's a very difficult field to be in, because you're working day in and day out for months, years on end with no results, and other people with regular jobs who they have a linear relationship between input and output. They're like, I show up to work, I get paid every 2 weeks. It's a done deal. Versus entrepreneurship, you can work for 2 years without getting paid. So why would you do that? So just understanding the limitations of their contacts is very helpful.
Well, people don't care what people say about you because most of them they want you to fail. So don't ever. Your background includes private equity as well. How did that analytical number crunching world prepare you for very tangible operational reality of fixing up homes and managing communities?
Yeah, so when you're operating an investment firm like we are right now, it really combines everything. It's combined everything I've learned so far. So I've used my knowledge in real estate. I've used my work ethic I developed at Tesla. I've I've also included my investment knowledge that I've gotten from the private equity firm. So it really combines everything. And that's why I was saying that the dots always connect when you look back. So if you're on your path and you're not sure what the next step should be, don't worry about it too much. Think about it, do what you think is right, and then make that the right move. I think a lot of people, they have it backwards. They think about making the right decision. Yes, the decision is important, but your follow through is even more important. Because the reality is that when you're at a crossroads in life, making that decision is only the start of it. How you handle the rest of the path, that's where the life will take you.
Well said, Mr. Leo. Well said. You talk about telling the real story behind affordable housing. In your view, what is the single biggest misconceptions an average person has about manufactured housing?
So there's a couple things. There's a lot of stigma in the industry. People just assume that manufactured housing is only for poor people, and that the people managing these properties are just serving that community. But it's not true, because there's a lot of different types of these housing. Yes, there's those like really rundown communities, but they're getting redeveloped into like shopping malls and stuff. Like, so the worst really gets better over time, but the better get better too. So you have huge publicly traded REITs that have these communities, and within them you're buying a single manufactured home for 300 $400,000 or more. And then you're getting into the realm of single family homes, and people are like, whoa, you can buy it for this much. I didn't know that. And that's just the reality, is that 7% of the American population lives within a manufactured housing community, and it's largely overlooked. But if you look closely, it is really all around you.
Well said, Mr. Leo. Well said. There's a constant tension between doing good, providing affordable housing, and doing well, delivering returns for investors. How do you navigate that line in practice? Can you give an example of a time you had to balance the two?
I think the beauty of what I do is that I do both with what I do. So the two things that are always at the forefront of our minds is, a, how are we improving the community? We always like to reinvest money into the properties that we buy and we manage, to increase the quality of life for the residents, because if they're happy, then our community becomes more desirable, more people want to move into it, they stay for longer, they pay more rents. That's great. And for our investors, we want to increase their return too. So we work with a lot of individuals. They don't have access to private market opportunities like this. So we give them the access. We do all of the work. We have a very capable team that's executed the business plan very well. So they can be perfectly hands off and just trust us to make them money. And our rule of thumb is that we want to double your investment every 5 years, and our investors love it.
Mr. Leo, beyond just providing roof, how do you define a revitalized community? Sorry for that. It's
Yeah.
early in the morning. What does success look like for a families who live in Carnal Communities property?
So for them, we want to give our residents a nice, clean place to live. So that means to take care of a lot of the kind of low hanging fruit. So we'll make sure that the grounds are maintained. We'll give them new fencing, signage, lighting, etc. Things that you don't think much about, but to them it means a lot because they're driving around it. And if you think of manufactured housing communities, it's really like a subdivision. So you want to go in and feel like you're in the neighborhood, and that's because a lot of these residents, they live here for 10 plus years, and they really do become very close friends with their neighbors. So we want to enable them to just be comfortable and be proud of where they live.
With the rising interest rates and construction costs, the affordable housing crisis is only getting worse. What's one innovative solution you see working in the space that most people are not talking about?
So the beauty of manufactured housing is that it's very modular. So it's not like we have to build this huge 400, like 100,000 square foot building. And it's not like we have to go through a long construction cycle. These units are pretty simple to put in. Yes, we still like need to get the permits and plan ahead of time, and still budget for it, but it's much more straightforward to put units in. And when you put a new unit in, you're giving one more unit of affordable housing to the community, which is great because people, when they look at their housing payments, they're like, well, I can live here and have a mortgage on this manufactured home for 20% than 20% less than I can rent in the same community for a used apartment. So the value becomes very compelling to them, and that's why the demand for affordable housing is higher now than ever. Oh, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you. Building a 500 unit portfolio sounds like straight, like up to the right, but never is. Can you share a specific moment when you thought that business might not make it? and how you go through that week.
Mm, so fortunately, it's never been as extreme as the business won't make it. It's more so just a lot of tough things happen behind the scenes because the reality is that we're operating commercial real estate, and commercial real estate takes a lot of effort and nuance and experience and resources to run. So we have to build a very lean team because for us, we charge the least amount of fees that we can to our investors because we want to align our interests. We want to only get paid when we make money for them. So for us, we're always in a budgetary constraint, and a lot of the the thinking comes into like, okay, who can we hire that will get the right work done for this limited budget? So that's always hard, and it challenges us to be more clear with tasks and more systemized, build better systems to train people so that they can get the right work done and also have metrics to measure their progress. So it's easier said than done. I mean that took me 30 seconds to say, but it's absolutely just painstaking in the background, and that's why we have a lot of successful business owner investors, high earning people. They see the value of their time, and they're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to manage commercial property. There's a ton of risk, a ton of work, and a ton of money involved that doesn't directly translate to the property itself. So I'll just let these guys manage it. And that's what they do. And that's what I do as well. I continue to passively invest in other teams to diversify my portfolio too.
Very well said, Mr. Leo. You operating on 8 different states. What is the biggest, most unexpected operational headache you've had to solve across such a wide geographic footprint?
Well, for the manufactured housing space specifically, it's always the regulations. The state regulations are just a huge part of a business plan for a property because I think the misconception is that these politicians, when they pass these regulations, they think that they're helping the community. They think that they're helping these affordable housing people, get a more stable cost of living, but they don't cap the expenses. So the reality is that labor gets more expensive, materials get more expensive, so the vendor costs and the cost to actually operate these things go up. And not to mention too, then if you're capped at raising your rents by like say 4% per year, but then like why would you be incentivized to improve the community? Why would you want to put in hundreds of thousands of dollars into it? So these regulations are always tricky to navigate, and you have to plan around it. So that's one of the toughest things in this space is accurately predicting, okay, what is the likelihood of this rent regulation happening? How do we work around it? And making sure that it's factored into our business plan.
Indeed. So, what is the most difficult business decision you had to make as a founder? Perhaps letting someone go, walk away from the deal, or saying no to an investor? And what did it teach you about?
So a difficult decision is what we do with the properties itself because there's a few projects that we're way ahead of business plan on, like we doubled our investors money within like 2-3 years, let alone the five that we projected. And so the incentive to our team is like, well, hey, look, if we sell the property early, then we get to cash out, we get to actually get paid. But the hard decision is like, we were really thinking like, hey, our investors mean a lot to us. We want to do what's best to our investors, and really there is no reason to sell it other than to get us paid. So we made the tough decision to continue operating and to continue running the business plan, and to continue um, running the properties as normal. And that just led to us, obviously like not getting paid, but to our investors it's good because they know their investment is increasing in value, it's continuing to do well. um just that like for us, we put aside our interests, and put theirs ahead of ours.
Well said, Mr. Leo. And let's talk about the system that scale. You emphasize building systems at the scale. What is one specific system or process you implemented that was game changer for moving a few properties to managing over 500 units?
Yeah, it's definitely having good dashboards to look at, good metrics to track. So it's very important that you know where each property is at any given time, because when you're managing this many units of housing, it gets complicated very quick, and it's easy for things to get forgotten. Maybe you forget to do a renewal here, you don't pay a bill on time, or like you let a tenant complaint go for a long time or something. So we want to have a good idea of where each property is and what is needed. So we designed our backend systems to be able to accommodate that. And it took a lot of time and to build, and then also a lot more time to refine, and also even more time to get it implemented. Because I mean that's really the three steps, right? You have to create a system, you have to refine it to actually make sense for your business, and then you have to have your team actually run it. That's always the toughest part, because I mean, people like to do things their way, but hey, you have to continually follow up and like make sure things are done right, and help them understand like why things are done the way that they are.
So, Mr. Leo, before we wrap up our discussion for today, can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, so I recently finished reading the Steve Jobs biography by Walter Isaacson. It's a phenomenal book. I mean, it came out many years ago, probably 15 years ago, but it goes into Steve's story of how he's a visionary, and he's a very inspiring and confident visionary. And he did not hide who he was. He did not change the way that he presented himself to others, and he lived by his truth. And there's power in being authentic, because that's how you best serve the world, especially when you're in a position of, call it, authority freedom. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a creator, if you're an investor, you don't have a quote unquote boss telling you and like, controlling you. But when you have that freedom, you should let your light shine as brightly as you can. You should be yourself to 100%, because that's how you inspire others. That's how you change the world. And that's exactly what Steve Jobs did. He's done that for his entire career. And he was able to accomplish things that people thought weren't possible. Like engineers told him things weren't possible, and he did it anyways. So greatness comes from being yourself and amplifying it to the world.
Greatness indeed, and thank you for the recommended book, Mr. Leo. Truly, highly recommended. Looking back to the person selling cars at Tesla, what would you tell that version of yourself about journey ahead?
Believe in yourself no matter what, and trust that the dots will connect, and always do your best.
Yes, do your best, people. Do your best. And if you could have, or if you could wave a magic wand and change one government regulation or policy related to manufactured housing, what would it be and why?
Hmm. I would allow for more development into the community, because right now it doesn't make sense mathematically for governments to approve new manufactured housing communities, because it costs too much for them to service compared to the tax revenue that they bring in. But this is absolutely a way to provide more affordable housing, and therefore we should figure out a way. I don't have the right answer right now, but there is a solution that works.
Mr. Leo, I'm inviting you to be part also of to my one of my podcasts, Entrepreneurship 101, and let's talk about entrepreneurship mindset. And my last question, but not the least, what does success look like for you personally in the next 5 years, beyond just the number of units or dollars in asset?
It's the number of people that I helped. That's everything that I optimize my life around. The money doesn't matter. It's about the people that you help, how you improve the community, because we're all just here in this world temporarily, and we can't take the money that is given to us, or we can't take anything with us when we die. But what we can do is change the world for the better and inspire others to live their lives differently.
Indeed. So, Mr. Leo, can you please invite our listeners to support your business or anything you want to promote on Book 101 Review?
Definitely. So, if you'd like to learn more about investing in manufacturing housing communities, how we could double your investment in 5 years, you can visit us at cornellcommunities.com. That's CORNELLCOMMUNITIES.com. Or I'm happy to be a resource if you want to find me on LinkedIn or Instagram. It's at Leo Young, LEOYOUNG. And on Instagram, it's at Leo Young Real Estate.
Yes, people, let's about Mr. Leo Young because if you support him, for sure, more and more business like this to rise. So, Mr. Leo, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Daniel.
Welcome, people. See you soon.